And a happy Friday, everybody. It is the 4th day of January 2019, and this is Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on this Friday. I am Dan Kuntz, your host. Busy show for you today. Lots to talk about, lots to touch on, lots of news, lots of sports. Buckle your seatbelt. This is an adult portion of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley, although a lot of kids will be watching this morning because, just like yesterday, we have 3 school districts that have 2-hour delays. Again, there's icy roads out there. Same ones as yesterday, same situation as yesterday. There's some icy roads, especially in some of the canyons and some of the upper elevations around here. So Wenatchee School District, Kashmir School District, and Cascade School District, just like Thursday, we're doing it again today because the icy roads is a 2-hour delay. All that information that you see below you is about the Wenatchee School District, which means obvious. It's the largest of the school districts in our area. Over 7,000 kids attend schools in the Wenatchee School District. So Wenatchee, Kashmir, and Cascade, you're going to start 2 hours later than normal today. You get out at the same time. You just don't have to go to school. So for all of you kids out there who are watching this show today, hey, thanks for joining us. There's also one other breaking news we want to get to right now. If you plan on traveling over Snoqualmie Pass right now, that's all you're doing is planning. You're not going anywhere. I-90 is closed in both directions. They've had a lot of ice and a lot of freezing rain and a lot of accidents, and they just said, nerds, we're just going to shut it down. And it's a big shutdown, 70-mile stretch of Snoqualmie Pass is closed in both directions. They have no idea when they're going to reopen it. They've had so many accidents and so many collisions that were blocking the roadway, they just thought the best course of action was to shut it down. It's closed eastbound at milepost 34, westbound at Ellensburg, at milepost 106. That's 72 miles of I-90 is closed. So if you absolutely have to drive over the mountain passes, you're going to have to wait until they reopen I-90, or you're going to have to use an alternate route. You're going to have to go down south and take White Pass or up north on Stevens Pass. Pass conditions are coming up, as is your weather forecast. And my guest in the second half of the program, recently retired Chelan County Superior Court Judge T.W. Chip Small, who is the author of a brand new book, and we're going to talk about that. So Chip will be here in the second half of the program. I'm looking forward to that great conversation with Chip Small. We got a lot to talk about. So let's not waste any more time. Let's take you around North Central Washington with our Valley View cameras and the cross camera. Bats lead off today, pointed a little bit more to the west. Wenatchee taking most of the action here today on this Friday. I've seen some blue skies up there. We're supposed to still get a chance of a rain, snow, even freezing rain mix this morning, so maybe there's one more mini system coming in. The weather pattern is going to be actually pretty active all the way through the middle of next week. Nothing really dramatic. There's no huge storms coming our way, but it's going to be just enough to make things a little interesting. So good morning, Wenatchee Valley on this Friday. Let's see what Megan has in store for us for camera number 2. Megan's in control, and that is a beautiful shot of something. Is that jump off ridge, Megan? That's Billy Goat. Oh, wow. Okay, well, hello, Billy Goat. You're there somewhere. I wonder what's that. That's what the goats get to look at, I suppose, when they're up there. Billy Goat, which is up in the Pateris area, right above the Alta Lake Golf Course, as you head up the Methow Valley. I'm sorry, that's what? Oh, Megan corrected me. That's actually Kashmir. In any event, you can't see it. So we'll move on to camera 3. Let's see what we can't see here now. I mean, it's part of the deal. The cameras are up high. That's how they work. There's Billy Goat. That's a dramatic shot there of Billy Goat. You can barely make out the Columbia River on your left. Again, we can move these cameras around, and we do so quite often. That's Billy Goat at 7,000 feet above sea level. Thank you, Megan, for making that correction for me. And finally, we say hello to Omni Gardens. And look at that cloud bank hanging over the Columbia River right next to the Stimil Growers thing. That's kind of cool. Isn't it? What a dramatic sunrise that is, even though we're still a half an hour or more before the sun officially rises. But what a spectacular view that is. That's almost, we can just show that for the next 56 minutes and go home. Megan would be happy with that, I can guarantee you that. Beautiful shots of the valley from our Sky-Fi high-speed wireless friends at Localtel. 5 minutes after the hour, here's your weather forecast from the National Weather Service. As I said before, active weather is really the number one thing we're talking about. No real sunshine that you see until we get to actually maybe Sunday, partly sunny on Sunday. High of about 40. We're going to see a few sun breaks, but basically off and on, really all the way through Sunday night. A little bit of snow here and there, a little bit of rain here and there. Mostly cloudy tonight, pretty dry on Saturday with the occasional sun breaks. Then another little system comes in. Again, it's not packing a big punch, but on Saturday night, going to see a little bit of rain and a little bit of snow and a little bit of freezing rain. Overnight Saturday night into early Sunday. Sunday, the sun comes out a little bit. It's also going to be very windy at times on Sunday, a reminder of that. All of these temperatures that you see are above normal. Look at that, 41, 40, 40, 38, 39. We're supposed to be at about 32 or 33 for our normal afternoon high, and we're going to be above that as the weather is. It's just been a very warm winter. So that's your forecast from the National Weather Service. Let's take you up to the mountain passes, and as we show you the I-90 camera, you'll notice there's nothing to look at. It's pretty black, maybe a couple of sets of headlights, and that's about it. That's probably a state patrol trooper driving around I-90 wondering when they're going to reopen it. Again, Snoqualmie Pass is closed both directions for a 72-mile stretch all the way from North Bend to Ellensburg. They do not know when they're going to reopen it. The good news is, without any traffic, they can get the plows out there, but right now it's kind of a rain-snow mix. I-90 closed both directions, no idea when they're going to reopen it. Stevens Pass is open. Traction tires are advised. It is snowing with some slush and ice on the roadway on Stevens Pass. Again, a traction tire advisory there. Blewett Pass has a traction tire advisory as well. They got some snow coming down on US 97 Blewett with some snow and some slush and some ice in places. And if you're going to have to take White Pass, just because you have to, there's no advisories or restrictions on White Pass. That's pretty good. But again, traction tires are advised on Stevens, advised on Blewett. And it doesn't really matter what they are on I-90. There's no advisories or restrictions because you can't drive it. If I-90 Snoqualmie Pass opens before the end of this program, I'll be sure to let you know. But right now, Snoqualmie Pass is closed because of multiple collisions and spinouts and just plain bad conditions. That is your Pass Report from the Washington State Department of Transportation. It's 7 minutes after the hour, 1 minute break. When we come back, your Friday morning news. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley Live this morning from Studio 4 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life Channel.
Everything we do is about delivering very high quality care and keeping our patients safe.
We really work as a team here, and so that's really what makes it worthwhile.
I give 100% every day, and I do that because I work for a company that I believe gives 100% back to me.
The bottom line is we genuinely care about our employees.
It is the most incredible place to work, and you will be inspired every day.
Hey everyone, did you know that the NCW Life Channel is North Central Washington's go-to source for news? No matter how you prefer to view your news, NCW Life has you covered. Watch the evening news weeknights on TV, stream it, read it at ncwlife.com, or catch the latest news by following us on Facebook. Stay informed with local news, sports, weather, and shows featuring local people and events. NCW Life, a reflection and a spotlight of the communities we call home.
And we are back at 8 minutes after the hour. If you're just joining us, once again, just like yesterday, the Wenatchee, Cascade, and Kashmir school districts, all the schools in those districts are running 2 hours behind. That does include your bus schedule as well. And Snoqualmie Pass, I-90 is closed in both directions because of multiple collisions and icy conditions. And here's what's making headlines on this Friday morning. The State Attorney General's office wants Wenatchee to reconsider its approval of the controversial Black Rock Terrace housing development in the Wenatchee foothills. Writing on behalf of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, the AG's office said the city hearing examiner's December 14th approval of the subdivision relied on, and I'm quoting now, clear mistakes as to material fact and clear error as to how the law, which should be corrected in the interests of justice. End quote. Steve and Tanya Tramp, they're the owners of the property. They proposed a 17-home development on 13 acres of sloping property on Skyline Drive. The state said concerns about how the development would affect Rocky Mountain mule deer habitat have not been adequately addressed. Suzanne Hartman, who's part of the homeowners group that's been fighting the proposed subdivision, said the state's involvement gives opponents more time to decide how to proceed. Hartman said remedies suggested by the state would essentially end the development at this location, end quote. Fish and Wildlife said there would be more than 10 acres of valuable mule deer winter forage habitat lost if the development goes through. The department, through the Attorney General's office, is demanding a series of mitigation efforts, including different landscaping, the shielding of lights, additional and higher fencing, signage, and personal liability for the homeowners. Well, Mark Straub sworn in to office on Wednesday as Douglas County's newly elected commissioner. Straub succeeds Steve Jenkins, who retired after serving 3 terms as District 3 commissioner. Our very own senior news correspondent Steve Hare talked to both of them after Wednesday's swearing-in ceremony in Waterville.
Congratulations, first of all. Are you ready to hit the ground running?
Thank you, sir. I am. I'm really looking forward to it. Have some big shoes to fill, but I'm looking forward to it.
So, Steve, it's been quite a career for you.
Yes.
Let's talk about some of the highlights.
You know, there's so many, it'd be hard to pick them. Every day's a challenge, so, you know, it's just a great group to work with, and it's nice serving the public, and hopefully go out with doing some sort of good.
So what are the plans going forward for you?
Fishing, grandkids, just whatever my wife says.
Writing a book, maybe?
No.
No, okay.
No.
Well, of course, I'm sure that you have some sage advice that you've shared with the incoming commissioner.
Well, the only thing of it is just do what his heart feels is right, and if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. He's very bright. He'll do a good job.
Okay. Is, generally speaking, no a good answer for a commissioner?
No, it's not. You know, you try to do your best. Every decision you make, you affect somebody. And everybody gets affected in negative in some way. You try and minimize that and just do the best you can for the majority of Douglas County.
Straub will represent District 3, which is the northern part of Douglas County. Well, the Wenatchee School Board met in closed session yesterday to review the list of candidates who applied for the vacant board position. 14 people applied for the position to replace Walter Newman, who resigned back in November. They whittled it down after their meeting at 10 a.m. to 5. And here are your 5 finalists who will be interviewed tonight. They are Karina Vega Vila, Martin Barone, Legine George, Alma Chacon, and Emmy England. The interviews are tonight in open session beginning at 5 o'clock at the Wenatchee School District Central Office on Sunset Avenue in Wenatchee. The board is expected to announce their choice for the vacant seat at the conclusion of tonight's meeting. And finally, it's Friday. What's happening this weekend? Every Friday morning we feature, well, what's happening on the weekend with our own Megan McPherson.
Here's a look at what's on tap this weekend around the Wenatchee Valley. Friday is First Friday at the Wenatchee Valley Museum and Cultural Center from 10 to 8. Admission is free all day starting at 10 on the first Friday of every month, and hours are extended to 8 with light refreshments and snacks offered after 5. The Ski Rennen Nordic race is happening this Saturday from 8 to noon at the Leavenworth Golf Course. This is a fun race day for all ages and abilities. Register online by 5 p.m. this Friday. Join the museum for a free art class this Saturday from 11 to noon to create a colorful confectionery still life. Children 4 to 11 and their guardians are encouraged to attend monthly art lessons with artist in residence, Rick Adams. These free art classes will be held in Coyote's Corner. Head to the Town Toyota Center this Saturday from 11 to 5 for the 2019 Bridal Premiere. There will be free admission, door prizes, and a fashion show by Katrina's Wedding Boutique. And finally, the Follies Kickoff Party is this Saturday at 7 p.m. The Follies Show is a spectacular variety show featuring local talent, sponsored by local businesses and individuals, and directed by the amazing Jamie Donegan. The party gives you a month before the show to become familiar with the theme and what musical numbers are available to participate in. Auditions will be held on Sunday at the Numerica Performing Arts Center at 1 p.m. and are open to the public at large, and no one is turned away. For more information on this weekend's events and others, visit the community calendar at ncwlife.com.
And yeah, lots going on this weekend. Of course, wherever you go this weekend, you can take us along. We're portable. We stream all the time at ncwlife.com. That's our website, ncwlife.com. Check it out. If you want to drop us a note, you're welcome to do so. Go to the website and go to the upper right-hand corner of your page, and you'll see Contact Us. And that's how you contact us. Or you can email us, news@ncwlife.com, or you can private message us on our Facebook page, or you can send us a tweet, or you can pick up the telephone and give us a call, or you can write us a letter, or you can stand on the roof of your house with a bullhorn and point it towards 201 South Chelan. We might get the message that way. Don't forget the news with Grant Olson comes your way tonight. Wait a minute. No, it doesn't. We have basketball. That's right. We have Wenatchee and Eastmont at the Town Toyota Center tonight. The Unified game is at 5 o'clock. The girls will follow the Unified game, and then the boys after that. Between the games, between the girls and the boys game, we'll try to fit in whatever news we possibly can with Grant and Eric. But don't forget, if you can't make it to the Town Toyota Center tonight for the big games, and I mean games, 3 of them between Wenatchee and Eastmont, you can watch them right here on the NCW Life channel. Speaking of sports, that's 1 minute away. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley live this morning from Studio 3 in downtown Wenatchee on the NCW Life channel.
I'm Tom from Alpine Air Heating and Cooling. At Alpine Air, we think of ourselves as customer service oriented retailers. When you make an appointment, please visit our store, meet our people, see our shop. We are serious about heating and air conditioning. Carrier and Alpine Air are offering huge factory rebates and financing options for all your needs. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Alpine Air. Call for your free replacement estimate. Heat and air, call Alpine Air, 662-6846.
Put winter weather in its place with a new Cub Cadet snow thrower from Rose Tractor. Hi, this is Corey. Let us help you get through the season with our line of Cub Cadet snow throwers. When it comes to snow, never let winter weather get in your way. The Cub Cadet X Series line of snow throwers offers 3 levels of snow clearing power and a host of award-winning models. Get ahead of the snow. Let us help you get into the right snow thrower for the job. Rose Tractor, family owned and operated, located at the corner of 3rd and Rock Island Road in East Wenatchee.
Back at it on this Friday. I am Dan Kuntz. Are you ready for a bunch of sports? Because we got a bunch of sports. The Wenatchee Panthers hosted the West Valley Rams. Big night wrestling last night at Wenatchee High School. Nice victory, 60-18. 7 pins Wenatchee got on the meet. That's a nicely done 7 pins. Former coach Stanhope is going to be inducted into the Panther Hall of Fame tonight. Joined Eric Granstrom for the call right here on this very television station.
Riley gets a half in, kind of tough when he's still on his base, but maybe the strength to turn him, he does. Looking for a pin, Jason Briley at 160 pounds, fighting for his life underneath the freshman, Jace Taylor-Reed. We got a pin. Nice reversal here, and maybe a pin possibility for Omar Cruz for Wenatchee. He gets the 2-point reversal, and we'll have near fall points coming. We're under a minute to go in this second round, and a pin! And here's a throw attempt by Ronan Haynes with a head and arm. He's able to get the takedown, and now looking for the pin.
That's pretty tight.
That is really tight. He's got 12 seconds left in the round here, as he'll lean, and there's not much room there for the shoulder blade. Pin! And a win in the second round by pin here for Wenatchee's Ronan Haynes. I guess you have that in football too, where you got a lot of coaches hollering from the sidelines. I guess it's a little more apparent here in wrestling. And a throw there to his back by Skyleman. He's got both arms pinned up here with 24 seconds to go. Wrestler on the bottom, Whittam, looks like he's in pain, and it is a pin for Tyler Skyleman. And jump showing that he can certainly get away so far. And now right back towards his back on the takedown this time, getting some near fall points as well, and a pin right to his back. Hayden Rose McKenzie will get the victory 1 minute into the first round via the pin. Josh Luke fighting from the bottom, trying to stay alive here. Meanwhile, sprawling out is Diego Gonzalez, and he'll get the pin. And that pin will come 59 seconds into the first round. So a win by pin will give Wenatchee a 54-18 lead, and add 6 more points to that as Leo Gutzweiler will get the forfeit at 145 pounds. So our final score here tonight will be Wenatchee winning at 60-18.
Nicely done, Wenatchee. Taking a look at the Les Schwab Prep scoreboard and other wrestling action. As you can see, Chelan defeated Omak. Cascade edged Chelan. There's more wrestling today and tomorrow. For the Panthers, they're going to head to University High School for the Pacific Northwest Classic. Kashmir and Cascade, they're not being rude, but they will be insulting for the big invitational tomorrow. And Eastmont sends a crew up to Chelan for the Chelan invite. Area B schools resumed their schedule last night in basketball, and there are your finals. Keep an eye on Waterville-Mansfield girls. They're really good. So that's the girls. Boys basketball, same schedule, slightly different results. Cascade Christian defeating Wilson Creek. Aniat got by Pateris, Brewster over Manson. In a non-league game, you'll see that Chelan lost to Newington College of Australia. Yeah, they're traveling all over the Northwest. They're going to be playing 10 games in their 14-day trip, and they even stayed with the families of the Chelan basketball players. That's kind of cool. Also on the Les Schwab scoreboard from yesterday in boys swimming, there's your result. Eastmont edging West Valley in the pool. Coming up today, Eastmont will host an 11 dive meet that begins at noon. And then tomorrow, Pullman, Walla Walla, Richland, Hermiston, and Hanford, all good swimming programs will be in town for the Wenatchee invite. Starts at noon. Quite a bit of basketball to be played over the next couple of days. There is your schedule for today. Keep an eye on Eastmont and Wenatchee and girls basketball. We will have that game live at 6 o'clock tonight at the Town Toyota Center. And here's your boys basketball schedule. And if it looks similar, it is similar. Same schools later on in the day. And again, Eastmont, Wenatchee, live at the Town Toyota Center at 8 o'clock. And by the way, we'll also be covering the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies for stand-up Mac Gebbers and Cody O'Connell. That is today. Tomorrow in high school basketball. There's your schedule. Look at what you want to do and go check it out. We will be covering the Davis and Eastmont girls boys doubleheader at the Eastmont Gymnasium. That's the girls' schedule for tomorrow, and here's the boys' schedule for tomorrow. Again, pretty similar. We will be, of course, on the other side of the river to see Eastmont take on the Davis Pirates, both girls and boys. Girls at around 6 and the boys at 7. Girls around 5:30, 5:45, and the boys at 7:30. Wenatchee Wild, they begin their second half of the BCHL season on the road. They're at Powell River tonight, followed by a game at Alberni Valley tomorrow at 7. The Wild tied for second with Merritt in the Interior Division. Eastern Washington takes on North Dakota State tomorrow for the FCS Championship. The game will kick off at 9 a.m. Eagles are 12-2. The Bison are 14-0. The game is in Frisco, Texas. You can watch it on ESPN2. The final college game of the year is on Monday. It is the College Football Playoff Championship. Levi Stadium, Santa Clara, California. Number 1 Alabama, number 2 Clemson. Monday, 5 o'clock kickoff. And of course, Seahawks have a game tomorrow night in Jerry World. They're taking on Dallas. Coach Pete Carroll says it's important with so many new players that they coach up the basics.
We have a number of guys that haven't been in the playoffs before. And so we're working through and making sure that they understand, how we approach it and how we're doing it, and staying to our business and making sure we put together a great week. This is a really good matchup. I hope we can play worthy of it. These guys do all of the things that we admire in a team. They run the ball, they got balance, they take care of the football, they play good defense, they're good on special teams. They've got guys that can really step up and make plays. So it's a really good matchup for us, and I'm excited to see if we can go ahead and get a great week's work and take it to Dallas for Saturday night.
Of course, these two teams already played this year way back in Week 3, a Seattle victory back then, 24-13. Both teams struggled early in the season, and they came back strong to end the season to make the playoffs. Coach Pete Carroll says he can see the similarities.
We both started slowly, and then somewhere in there we kind of found a little bit of our stride. These guys put together 7 out of 8, to finish off the season. We had a nice little run ourselves, so they're not that much different. We're not that much different, but really the way we have formatted our team play, I think both teams have done well to this point.
Coach Pete Carroll was asked if that Dallas victory way back in Week 3 was a turnaround victory for the team. He said, "Hey, a victory is a victory."
It was a step in the right direction, and the commitment came through, but we were just getting started. I don't think that week was the pivotal week at all. I think it took us 2 or 3 weeks after that before we started to find the stride that we wanted, and then started to attempt to build on that. So, but it was an important game to get a win, of course, but I don't think we saw the future in that game. I think it was just we made it through it, and we're fortunate to win.
Seahawks and Cowboys in Jerry World, 5:15 kickoff tomorrow night on Fox. And those are just some of the games that people are playing on this Friday morning, 24 minutes after the hour. It's time for the obscure holiday of the day today. On top of spaghetti, it's National Spaghetti Day today. I don't know anybody who doesn't at least like spaghetti. I know any number of people who love spaghetti. Of course, spaghetti came to us from the Italian immigrants, and now it's spread all over the country and all over the world. Extremely popular dish. Spaghetti is one of those few foods that we know a lot about as far as its history and its culture and its background. Fun facts about spaghetti. Tomato sauce was an American innovation to spaghetti. And by the way, Mike Magnotti is very particular about this. You don't call it sauce, you call it gravy. Well, Mike does anyway, I call it sauce. Yeah, tomato sauce, that was us. Meatballs, that's us too. Yeah, that was the American innovation to spaghetti. We eat a lot of pasta, not just spaghetti, but pasta in general, Americans do. The average American eats about 15.5 pounds of pasta a year, but we got nothing on the Italians. The average Italian eats 55 pounds of pasta a year. That's a lot of pasta. It is National Spaghetti Day because it's always celebrated on January 4th because it's National Spaghetti Day. All right, 25 minutes after the hour. Today in history, happy birthday to the Beehive State. What's the Beehive State? That's the state flag of Utah. Utah joined the Union 123 years ago as the 45th state in the Union. Approximately 62% of all the residents of Utah are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That is Utah is the only state where a majority of the population belongs to just one single church. Utah is the only state where every county in the state has at least some national forest in it. The official state song of Utah was called Utah, We Love Thee. And then in 1996, they realized the song Utah, We Love Thee wasn't very good, and they replaced it with a song called Utah, This Is the Place, which is a much better song. Happy 123rd birthday to Utah. And speaking of songs, today is the 49th anniversary of the last time the Beatles recorded together. Actually, John Lennon wasn't there. He had already left the group. But January 4th, 1970, with just Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison in attendance in the studio, they recorded the album version of the song Let It Be. It would be their final ever recording session as a group. Happened 49 years ago today. And 9 years ago today, the tallest building in the world, not just a tower, it's the tallest structure in the world, 163 floors high. The Burj Khalifa in Dubai opened. It's the tallest building in the world, and it still is 9 years later. It's tall, 163 stories. It's over a quarter of a mile in the air. It's insane. It's a tall building. I'm getting vertigo just looking at it. That's today in history on this fourth day in January. Finally, birthdays. Area is the most influential scientist of all time. Was born on this day back in 1643. And when you were born back in 1643, you usually didn't live very long. Sir Isaac Newton lived to be 84. That's pretty good. The number one thing he did, of course, he codified the laws of motion and gravity. The worst thing he ever did is he invented calculus. He's not happy with him about that, but there's no question he's the most influential scientist of all time. Sir Isaac Newton, born in the state in 1643. We got some living legends. Don Shula is 89 years old. 33 years as a head coach of the NFL, 2 losing seasons. That's it. Coached in 6 Super Bowls, won a couple of them with Miami, and he won 347 games as a head coach in the NFL, by far the most of all time. Don Shula is 89 years old today. Who is Clint Hill, who's 87 years old today? Clint Hill is the last surviving person who was in the presidential limousine when it arrived at Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, Texas on the afternoon of November 22nd, 1963. Everybody else who was in that car has since passed away, obviously. We all know what happened. Clint Hill, the last surviving person, the Secret Service agent who leapt on the back of this presidential limousine, is 87 years old today. And my favorite author, well, my favorite living author is Doris Kearns Goodwin. And there she is. She's 76 years old today. Every book she's written is really good. I highly recommend 2 books in particular, No Ordinary Time, which is about the White House in World War II, and Team of Rivals, the political genius of Abraham Lincoln. Doris Kearns Goodwin is 76 years old today, 28 minutes after the hour. I mentioned Mike Magnotti earlier in my show. I'll mention him again. He's coming up with his opinion. Everybody's entitled to Mike Magnotti's opinion. And then Chip Small, T.W. Chip Small, who recently retired after a long career as a Superior Court Judge here for Chelan County, has just written a book, and he's agreed to appear on this program. Chip will be here live when we come back. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
What's your Automocha emergency?
It's a Paprika mocha with whip.
The espresso shakes are my most favorite because I can get any flavor. Peanut butter chocolate for pita.
Definitely the espresso shakes. My favorite is the mocha for pitas.
A peach Red Bull. Walkabout Grill, open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner in downtown Wenatchee and now downtown Leavenworth, where eating out is eating healthy.
Hi, I'm Kevin Prosser, and this is my print shop, Color FX in Kashmir. Color FX offers screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing on t-shirts, jerseys, bags, banners, signs, and more. With 30 years experience, you won't be disappointed with the quality and quick turnaround times you will get at more than a fair price. Please call Color FX.
Antique Mall at Kashmir wishes you a happy and prosperous new year. With 15,000 square feet to explore, Antique Mall at Kashmir has something for everyone. For repurposing projects, do-it-yourselfers, and those with a keen eye for making something old fresh and new again, this is the place to find your next project. Antique Mall at Kashmir, their friendly staff is here to help you. Stop on by today.
Welcome to another edition of Harrod's Cookhouse Field to Table.
Outdoorsmen have been providing fresh food for American family tables for generations. Hunting and fishing is a way of life for our family, and we enjoy cooking delicious fish and game meals.
Oh, that's awesome.
We want to share our recipes with you. This is Harrod's Cookhouse Field to Table.
Watch for new episodes of Harrod's Cookhouse Field to Table, starting Saturday, June 30th on the NCW Live channel.
Since 1932, Camp Seneca, nestled on the beautiful shores of Lake Wenatchee, has provided children grades 1 through 12 with the ideal location for kids to learn new skills, have fun, and make friends while creating memories that will last a lifetime. Camp Seneca's rustic log cabins and their staff serve to provide each group a unique summer camp experience. Register for Camp Seneca today, www.campfirencw.org.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, like I've said before, 75% of us folks here in the good old US of A call ourselves Christian. Well, that's fine, I guess, but what's really tragic is that there are people who don't realize that the true test of loving and sacrificing for others and doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, etc., that's first and foremost to be displayed at home to your family. You know, it really doesn't matter who outside your family thinks you're a wonderful person. If your spouse and your kids don't think so, or if your parents and siblings think you're a jerk, you're missing it as far as your Christianity and your love for your fellow man is concerned. If it isn't first and foremost demonstrated to those closest to you, let's face it, it's meaningless. This is Mike Mad Dog Magnotti, and that's my opinion.
It's estimated that 1/3 of Americans do not have a financial plan. At D.A. Davidson, their advisors are working to change that because they understand the importance of planning for the future. At D.A. Davidson, they believe in partnering together to build a strategy tailored to your needs. They spend the time and have the knowledge to help keep your financial future on track. Let D.A. Davidson Financial Advisors of Wenatchee put the strength of advice to work for you.
If you're stuck trying to find the perfect beer for you, look no further than Badger Mountain Brewing. We specialize in creating tantalizing craft beers that will soothe any picky taste buds and will satisfy your cravings. Check out everything from our amazing honey blonde that will appease even the most finicky taster, or a delicious frothy stout for dark beer lovers. Experience them all at Badger Mountain Brewing.
I'm Jenny Rojanasatian, and this is Guada TV. Every week we will be bringing you a first look at North Central Washington business, tech, and education news. You'll hear from local influencers and innovators who live right here in the Valley. Together we'll discuss hot topics, current events, and resources that can support your business, our schools, and this community. Join me every week, and let's get inspired.
Können Sie mir das Problem sagen?
Meinen Zylinder überschwimmt. Flute, ich habe mein Fugen verloren.
Keine Sorge.
Global Car Care. We speak your car's language.
Fragen schließen. about you?
Well, I got a leaky transmission, my head gasket's shot, and I could use some new brake pads.
That dog don't hunt.
Global Car Care. We speak your car or truck's language.
Welcome back to this edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Kuntz. He is the pride of Mount Prospect, Illinois. What does that mean? We don't know yet. We're going to find out together. He just recently retired as a Chelan County Superior Court Judge after serving longer than anybody else in the history of Chelan County, and that says something. We've had some outstanding jurists over the years, and now that he's retired, he can do whatever he wants, including write a book, and that's exactly what he did. My guest today, to my immediate left, retired Judge T.W. Chip Small. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you here. First things first, and this is my bad. I didn't mention this on our email exchange last week, and I should have. It's $300 to do the show. So did you bring the check?
Here, I thought it was going to be free advertising.
Oh, you know, you know what? For this one time, I'll just waive the fee.
Oh, thank
this will be no charge.
All right.
No charge.
I can accept that gift now that I'm no longer on the bench.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's right.
Otherwise, I'd have to put it in my public disclosure statement.
Please explain the name Chip. I mean, I'm curious. I've always wanted to know where that nickname came from.
When my mom was pregnant, they did back then. They didn't know boy or girl, but they knew if it was going to be a boy, I'd be named after my dad. Mm-hmm. And so, before I was out of the womb, if I was a boy, I was Chip off the old block. Oh. And so that way there wasn't any confusion with my dad, and that's how I got the name. And it was nice because all through grade school, high school, even college, nobody gave me a nickname. You know, you get a nickname.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Never got one because I was Chip. I already had one. So.
Does it fit you? Do you like it? Or it's been with you since birth, so you really don't have much of a choice?
It was interesting because I used it, you know, all through high school, and in college it was kind of a mix. In law school, I tended to use Ted, my given name. Mm-hmm. And I was practicing law when I was still in law school under a special license to practice, and I introduced myself to my clients as Chip, even though I was using Ted professionally. And one client met me, I introduced me, well, do you know Ted Small? And I go, yeah, and I heard he's a really good lawyer, you know. So when we moved to Wenatchee, I had to make a choice. How do I get rid of this confusion? And at the time, remarkably, E.R. Dick Whitmore was running for prosecutor. G.W. Rusty Shaw was running for sheriff, and so was C.R. Dick Nickel. So I said, perfect. I'm just going to drop the Ted entirely and go with T.W. Chip Small.
It seems to work.
So
how did you end up from Mount Prospect, Illinois, to little old Wenatchee Town, USA? That must have been an interesting journey.
Well, and it was a choice, though. My wife and I, when we were dating in college, we knew we were going to move where there were mountains. And we decided, I had read the book Go East, Young Man by William O. Douglas, mm-hmm. and the way he described the Cascades, I had to see him. And so we honeymooned at Expo 74 in Spokane, and I had a package that I bought when I sold my car to buy this honeymoon package, and we flew from Spokane to Seattle, and it was August and not a cloud in the sky, so we're just, you know, this is it. So I applied to UW Law School, and my wife got hired by UW Hospital by mail. They didn't even interview her on the phone. Wow. And we packed everything we owned in a 72 Nova, and including our parakeet, and headed out west. And all our friends thought we were crazy, but it was the right decision. I mean, right from the get-go, we found out that because my wife was a full-time university employee, I got in-state tuition.
Oh, wow.
I had saved a little apartment ad the March before we moved, and it turned out we talked to the people to get an apartment. They didn't have any available, but they were leaving, so we applied for the manager's job. So we got free rent, and we managed a 16-unit apartment.
You were on a roll for a while there.
No question, God put us where we're at. And then we looked as far south as San Francisco and as far east as Great Falls, Montana for the best place to raise the kids, and Wenatchee was number one.
And you've been here ever since?
Yep.
University of Washington Law School is world-renowned for their academics. If you graduate from the University of Law School, with the University of Washington Law School with a law degree, you done good, didn't you? Their reputation is sterling.
Well, yeah, it was pretty highly ranked when I got in. And it keeps improving. I mean, the quality of people going there now is I couldn't compete, but it's a great school.
If you don't know, Chip's wife is a retired nurse. She ran the Chelan Douglas Health District for many, many years. She got to beat him to the lovely retirement thing before Chip finally got around to saying, okay, I'll join you, Mary, in retirement. At what point did you get the law bug? Were you just like a kid saying, I think I might be a lawyer and a good one, or maybe even a judge?
Not at all. In fact, in grade school, Ed Trio was a classmate of mine, and in 7th grade he knew he was going to be a lawyer. And I thought I was going to be an engineer or an architect, and that's when I first started out in college. But that third level of calculus, it was like, no, I'm not going to do that. So I kind of bounced around majors, and I couldn't make up my mind. So finally, third year of college, I had to make up my mind, and I thought, well, I'll major in business and finance, because whatever I do, I have to get a job, so that's a safe bet. And then I read William O. Douglas's Go East, Young Man. And it turned out, despite a lot of partying in college, I had really good grades, and I didn't want to waste them, and I didn't like the sight of blood, so I didn't want to do that. I interviewed with some multinational corporations for their MBA program, and it was like, you'd be number 562 management trainee, and it's like, no, that's not me. And so I'll try the LSATs and went to law school.
Yeah, well, for those of you who don't know, I know what the acronym LSAT means, but LSAT means?
Oh, Law School Aptitude Test.
They're like, you think you could be good at this, and you did well, and you said, okay, I'm going after law.
I got into Northwestern, but it was too close to home and nowhere near the mountains, and I felt if I went there, we'd never leave. And so applied to UW and Willamette and University of Oregon. And Oregon was kind of anti-outsider at the time. They wanted you to visit, but don't move there. So my wife could not be a nurse until she got the results of her nursing board. She'd have to be a nurse's aide. But Washington State would let her get a temporary license to practice nursing, and then if it turned out she flunked, then they'd bust her down to nurse's aide. So went to UW instead of Oregon or Willamette.
UW, got your law degree, and then did you decide to come to Wenatchee, or did Gar and Jim hired you and you worked your way? How did all that work? I mean, what happened there?
See, that's another one where God I wanted Wenatchee, the wife wanted Eugene, so we were going to move to Spokane. But I wanted Wenatchee, and so the firm advertised for summer clerkship after my second year at law school. But we were managing an apartment building. We'd already had one of our kids that year, and it's like, no. But then in the fall of my third year, they advertised again. So I thought, whoa, whoever clerked for them didn't work out because they're still looking. And so I signed up, called the wife at home and said, hey, this is the best firm in town. They're interviewing. And she said, fine. But then I got home, and it turned out she said, fine. So I went back to school and I crossed my name off and I did an interview. And all the Spokane lawyers said, we don't hire in the fall of your third year, we hire in the spring, so don't bother us till March. So I didn't interview. And then in January, I got a call from a classmate saying this lawyer from Jeffers Danielson called her and said they interviewed a bunch of people, didn't like them. Did she know anybody that was willing to be a trial lawyer and moved to Wenatchee? And she heard me talk about Wenatchee all the time, and so she gave him my name. And so the wife got back from working at University Hospital, and I told her, hey, this is the third time. You know, I got to at least interview. And after the interview, I told Gar, he wanted to bring Mary and our daughter Sarah and myself for the weekend, meet everybody. And I said, well, you got to convince Mary. And they were ready for her. They took her, the wives took her to lunch, and then they got her a tour of the hospital, which had just opened, the new Central Washington Hospital, and then they got her a tour of St. Joseph's Grade School and just gotten carpeting. And by the time we finished dinner and went back to our hotel room, she said, I'm going to kill them if they don't give me a job up here. So that was it. I just had one interview. So
that's incredible. You have absolutely been blessed, no question about it. Between the time you got your law degree and began practicing law before you went to the bench in the summer of 1991, what was your specialty in the field of law?
It was primarily trial practice. I started out doing insurance defense mostly, and then gradually that wasn't as profitable and did more plaintiff's work. And I represented a number of clients that were kind of in litigious businesses, and I got into some real estate work, helping out one of my partners because we have a sabbatical program. And so it's kind of a pretty general practice, but with an emphasis in trial work and doing trials.
They do have a sabbatical program at Jeffers Danielson. I have a number of friends who are participating in it, except Dave Son, who kept showing up to work. I'm not kidding you. Dave, it was Dave's turn for his sabbatical.
He's still showing up.
It was Dave. You're supposed to take 6 months off, and he kept showing up to the darn office. Something happened, obviously, between the 1978 and 1991 when you became a judge. When did that process begin that you thought, you know what, I think the robes might suit me?
It didn't begin in the 80s when Judge Hanna called me and asked me to fill in Douglas County District Court. I just, was doing him a favor, and I never envisioned myself as a judge, and so it's like, sure, I'd be happy to do that. And it was fun, but it was just kind of almost a hobby-like thing. But then in 1989, they created a third judgeship. And I literally got the call. Judge Van Sickle called me and told me that he and Charlie had talked and they thought I'd make a good judge and I should put in for the position.
He's talking about, I believe, Charlie Cohn?
Yes.
Yes.
And who's an inspiration in a lot of parts of this book.
Charlie was a great guy.
He had great advice. And anyway, so I told the wife about it. Well, we hadn't had our sabbatical yet. And I'd been working 68 hours a week for a number of years by that time. And so didn't do it. And Judge Bridges got picked and did a fantastic job, and it was perfect.
And then 2 years later?
2 years later, well, 1 year later, the year I'm on sabbatical, Judge Van Sickle gets nominated to the federal court, but he's not confirmed right away. And I thought, well, no, I'm not going to do this. And then in the spring of '91, Judge Cohn decided that he was only making about $400 a month, which was the difference between his salary and what he'd get from his pension and his Social Security. So he announced he's retiring. Well, now I got to make up my mind, so we prayed about it a lot and talked about it, and I just had the best year I'd had as far as revenue generating for the firm, and it's kind of hitting my prime of my legal career at 38 years old. But we just thought, no, God wants you to do this. And so I took the plunge and was very fortunate to tie with Gary Reeson for first place in the bar poll, and the governor appointed me.
Tell me about the call. Governor Gardner gave you a call and said...
He didn't. What happened,
how did that happen?
How it works is I'm sitting in my office and I get a call from his lawyer. And he says, if the governor calls you to appoint you, will you accept? I go, absolutely, I said, okay, hang up the phone. And then a minute later, the governor calls you, and he appointed me. So it was really special.
The genesis, and by the way, the reason that Chip is here is to talk about his book. It's called You're Not a Lawyer Anymore, a primer for those who want to be a good judge. And there's a copy of it there that you see on your screen. Something inspired you to write this book. Did you take to the bench in June of 1991 and said, oh, there's a lot of things that they didn't tell me that I really needed to know?
Well, that was for sure. I mean, I estimate it took me about 6 years to learn about 75% of what you need to know. It took me another 4 to learn another 20%, and you never really learn everything to be a judge. And I got involved in judicial education about midpoint of my judicial career, and I realized that we have no pre-professional education for judges. I mean, lawyers go to law school, doctors go to medical school, dentists, dental school, and law enforcement officers, 880 hours at the academy.
Judges that give you robes and throw you to the wolves, and that's it.
Exactly.
Huh?
Wow. And then couple that with the fact that when I was a lawyer, we tried cases because people could afford to go to trial. Well, in the last 25 years, the cost of going to trial has skyrocketed, so fewer and fewer lawyers actually try cases, but they're coming onto the bench. So they have no courtroom experience, and no pre-professional education. So initially I tried to get the state, I wrote what I call black paper. It's really a white paper, but it's for the judiciary, so I call it black paper, proposing that we do a collaboration of all the state law schools and the Office Administrator of the Courts and have a full-time year-round academy, which back in I believe it was the late 60s, we had that. We used to be part of the Law Enforcement Academy in Brewing. But a couple years later, the Chief Justice at the time decided, well, we're the judicial branch. We shouldn't be where the executive branch is. So he pulled us out with the promise of money for educating judges. And that amount of money for educating judges is just plummeted. And so it didn't work. And so, but the black paper didn't get anywhere because it was, I think it was written right around the time of the McCleary decision, and they didn't feel they could ask the legislature for money to educate judges. And so my plan B was mandatory 1-week training for Superior Court judges, and the Board of Trustees of the Superior Court Judges Association agreed with that, but it would take an additional employee to implement it, and the state wasn't willing to fund that position. And so this is actually Plan C.
Is this just for lawyers or lawyers to be, or somebody who might be interested in a law career, or is it kind of layman like me read it and understand it and enjoy it?
No, I intended 3 audiences. I intended the lawyers that are thinking about becoming a judge. It would give them insight into what the job actually entails so that they could make a good decision on whether to take the bench or not, or pursue it. It's also written for newer judges, mostly in the first 3 years on the bench. They would get a lot of help from it. And it's written for just regular folks because we see a lot of judicial decisions in the news, and we see nominations and hearings and all that. And I thought, so I tried to write it in a manner that anyone could understand it. There's not a lot of legalese in here. The woman that helped edit it had me throw in a few stories about my own career. I didn't want to overload it with about me, but she wanted it to, she thought, no, it'll be entertaining if you.
I'm sorry, who edited the book?
But Jessie Walker's the one that, she's a volunteer editor for me.
Okay, so she kind of vetted the material and helped you guide it along.
Yeah, she helped me organize it and proofed it a number of times.
Was this something that was in the hopper, or did you write this a couple of years ago and said, I can't print this because I'm a sitting judge, but once I'm out, I'm out? Or did you sit down and write this over a weekend?
No, I planned to write it as soon as I retired, but I ran into Wes Hensley.
Yeah, another great guy and a great attorney.
And Wes said, no, you're not going to write it after you retire, Judge. And I go, Wes, and he's a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Not confrontational.
No.
I said, Wes, if I tell you I'm going to write it, I'm going to write it. No, not after you retire. What are you talking about? And he said, you have to write it now while you still have the passion. And he was absolutely right. So most of it was written when I was on vacation in 2017. And then after I retired, all the rewrites and all that other stuff, and lined up David Hampton to do the layout and everything, the graphic design, and worked with him because he was a part-time instructor at Wenatchee Valley College where he used to be a trustee. And then one of his former students, Jessica Campbell, did all the illustrations. It's all original artwork in here. And we kicked around different ideas that I had for each chapter, and so she laid out great artwork to illustrate each chapter. So it's keep it local. And in fact, there's hopefully working out a deal to do an audio version of it sometime this month.
Yeah, an audio book. That's a great idea.
Yeah, because now I'm trying to get those young judges. They're more into. It's available in Kindle, so if they want to go that route and audio, so I'm going to hopefully record the audio version.
Yeah, Judge Leslie Allen is now the senior presiding judge, and our 2 new judges, Judge Kristen Ferreira and Judge just sworn in, Travis Brandt, are pretty young, aren't they?
They
as
are.
judges go.
But
you were 38 when you rose to the bench, right? So they're just about the same age, I think, as you are.
Pretty
now.
much, or maybe slightly. I think Kristen's about the same. Travis might be a little bit older, but they both read the book.
Yeah. Hey, that's good.
And what's really pleasing for me is I endorsed 4 people for the bench this fall, and all 4 people won. And so I think our judicial branch locally in Chelan Douglas County is in really good hands. The next generation is really good.
You bring up an interesting point. We only got about 5 minutes left with Chip Small. You brought up an interesting point. The recently retired, from public life, Sandra Day O'Connor, she's been diagnosed with dementia. She has decided to step away from public life. But her ongoing cause after leaving the bench was to eliminate the election of judges. She thinks that judges, and she had some pretty powerful allies in this, should not be elected. They should be appointed to their positions, be it district, superior, whatever the case may be. She doesn't like judges having to participate in the political election process. Your opinion, Chip, on that?
Ruth Walsh, who owned, I think it was Como, she chaired a commission to look into how we select our judges in Washington State many, many years ago. And Lem Howell, a really great civil rights attorney, plaintiff's attorney over in Seattle, was on that. It was a pretty large commission, the Walsh Commission. And when he got on it, he said, absolutely, we should always elect our judges, no question about it. Then they toured the state for a couple of years to see how people decided who to vote for and whatnot. And the commission unanimously, including Lem Howell, said, no, we shouldn't be doing it the way we're doing it. So their idea was pretty much similar to how our salaries are set. Our salaries are determined by a panel of folks that have a majority of citizens in it, and there's no dominant political party in the membership. So it's a completely neutral group that decides our salaries, and they were recommending something similar that comes up with a slate of candidates that were vetted that the governor would have to pick from.
Right.
And then do a retention election after the first year in office. So if you're a dud, the people could vote no, but you wouldn't be running against a person, you'd just be running on your own record. And try to minimize money being involved. But if you got yes, then you get a 10-year term and then another retention election. And they both have good and bad qualities to it. I frankly enjoyed contested elections from the standpoint I got to go out and meet the people and actually get feedback, because you really can't trust the feedback of lawyers that appear in front of you. But the public, I mean, my second contested election, I think it was in 2000 or 2004, I got great feedback. So that part I liked, but you shouldn't, the job isn't to represent people. It's to enforce the law and do it neutrally and objectively. So I kind of lean toward the Walsh Commission. Especially at least in the big counties and for the appellate courts. Perhaps in smaller counties like ours, we don't need that. But in the larger counties where there's a lot of money involved, it's probably better to do it that way.
We have about 2 minutes left. What's changed the most from June of 1991 until your retirement in your job day to day? And I'm going to spitball here. I'm assuming it's the fact that nobody seems to go to trial anymore. I've been called to jury duty a bunch of times over a long, long period of time, and you don't have to serve, thank you. What happened to that? I'm guessing, but what's changed the most in your...
Well, the cost of going to trial is just skyrocketed. So we don't have as many trials. What's changed, most of what we do is felony criminal and family law. And the felony criminal has changed. It's gone from cocaine to methamphetamine to now heroin. The family law has gotten way more complicated. You can go back and look in the 80s, and you'll see at 2 legal size pages that's a complete divorce decree, property division, child support, parenting plan, in 2 pages. Now you'll be lucky to get it in 60 pages. And lawyers are so expensive that more and more people represent themselves. So it makes the judge kind of the lawyer for both sides and the judge, and trying to take care of the children. That's the biggest change. We're really involved in people's lives and deciding what's best for their kids when mom and dad can't agree.
The book is called You're Not a Lawyer Anymore, a primer for those who want to be a good judge, and it was written by Chip Small. It's available on Amazon. It's available paperback. It's also available on Kindle, I believe, which is why that's how I consume my books. We got 30 seconds left. How's retirement treating you? What are you doing? How's your golf game?
My golf game's 2 strokes down.
Good.
So that's really sweet, but now I've got to kind of learn how to market my book. And avoid these $300 fees. Thanks for waiving that, though.
Yeah, we're gonna waive the fee. We are gonna waive the fee. Say hi to Mary for me. I haven't seen her for a while. She used to come in my radio days when she was the director of the Chelan County Health District. She was in charge and would give us our flu shots. Right there live on the air, and she was good because I would whimper sometimes. And she had a great sense of humor. I said, "Did you have strawberry today? What's the flavor today? Strawberry?" Chip's good to see you.
Thank you.
And good luck with the book. Go out and sell them.
Me.
Thanks for having me. And it's good to see you again. Don't worry about the $300. I'll send you a bill. Everybody have a great weekend. Don't forget high school basketball tonight. Wenatchee and Eastmont from the Town Toyota Center. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.